Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So as I'm sure you know, there's lots of different ways that we can make bass sounds from scratch, but today I want to talk about why using wavetables is a great way to get unique sounds and get them fast. So let's jump right in and have some fun. Now, just in case you're not familiar, a wavetable is basically just a series of waveform snapshots that captures the level and distribution of harmonics in an audio file. And you can kind of drag any audio file and use it as a source for your wavetable, which makes it fun because it's really easy to get like these wildly different results with little to no effort on your part, which is great. And this technique works especially well for bass because the lower the pitch, usually the more pronounced the differing harmonic levels get, especially in that lower frequency range. Now the good news is that you've got lots of different options for plugins to use for your wavetable sound design. My personal favorite is to use either Serum or Pigments by Arturia. Those are both really good paid options. You can also use, if you work in Ableton 11, there is a synth called Wavetable that you can access, and that would be free. There's also some other free options too, one of which being Vital, which is a really popular free synth that you can use, really powerful too. So to set all of this up, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab my mic and I'm gonna record just like a sound, any sound really. It doesn't really even matter what it is. I'm gonna do like a wow. What other noises do I even know how to do? All right, so let's say we want to just take this first one here, and I'm gonna press Command J to commit it to audio so that it doesn't bring in the entire audio file of sounds that I use, just a tiny little snippet. And then I'm just gonna drag it into one of the oscillators here, oscillator A, and let's just use the normal import. A lot of times with plugins that use wavetables, you don't even have to select through any of these. This is just a kind of a quirky option from Serum. So we'll just import it, and you can see that it's just a flat line right now, but if you click, then you can see the wavetable, and you can see that this is where the series of snapshots begins. So you can see there's a little bit of silence here, and then it moves to this really cool like mountain range looking thing like you see on those certain types of maps, right? And also what I like to do, because this is a bass sound, we're just gonna make it monophonic. And the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna activate this sub oscillator just so that we can get a reinforced sine wave underneath all of the more harmonically driven oscillators that we're using from the wavetables, right? So, and let's turn it down a little bit. Now, I just want you to listen through to the way that the harmonics change over time. So I'm gonna cycle this position, and it's gonna cycle through each of these snapshots. You almost immediately get that like talking bass sound. Kind of reminds me of Skrillex or something. And that's one of the things I like about this technique, is that you instantly get these cool harmonics that you can cycle through. And even for just like a static sound, right? Like you could choose one of these positions. And then now we can shift the balance between the harmonics and the actual sub by turning this down, right? So now we just get like a hint of that character. And the nice thing about that too is that when you're working with just a static snapshot, so just, you know, one of these waveforms, you can actually make the bass have a little bit more character that shines through the mix of whatever it is that you're working on in a particular way. And then when you lower it down by an octave, you get some incredible sounds. Now, since we're using a powerful synth here, we're gonna assign an LFO to kind of cycle through the wavetable position, which is a really nice way to add a little bit of variety and a little bit of movement within your patch, because our ears are just annoyingly good at picking up when things are consistent and the same, and it's easy for things to be monotonous when they don't have much movement, right? So a really easy way is just to assign an LFO. I'm just gonna drag LFO 1 to our wavetable position here, and watch what happens now when I hold a note down. If we slow it down to like say a bar, one thing you're gonna wanna do too if you use Serum is you can see this tiny little edit button, and we're gonna go to the morph menu, and I'm just gonna select crossfade so that it crossfades all of the samples together, so that if you have a slower LFO that's moving the wavetable position up and down, it's not gonna be as jittery between each of the samples. It's gonna crossfade them, right? So now, Now, another thing that we can do too, while we keep our LFO intact, is to add an envelope to the wavetable position so that it cycles really fast, almost like you're playing through the audio file, but just with the pitch from your bass. So if I added envelope 2 to the wavetable position and it kind of starts at the end and pulls back towards the beginning, we're gonna pull the sustain down. And we make it a little bit faster. You get that really cool sound. We made it even more extreme too. And I think the sound really comes alive when you start adding more unison voices. So say 7. And I actually like to keep this pretty subtle. Like I'll keep the envelope pretty short so it just kind of cycles through, but you still get that movement. If you just listen to the snippet that we had originally, wow, I'm sounding out exactly how it's going to sound when we cycle through the wavetable position with that envelope that we assigned. So in that sense, it's really cool because you can design the sound with your mouth or whatever objects you have around you and a mic and get it to sound the way that you're envisioning in your head, or just explore some random options as well. And in this case, if we were going for that like talking bass sound, we already have it just immediately. It's really cool stuff. Let's try another sound. This sound is kind of weird, so let's try this one. We'll import it there. It sounds like this. Now, as crazy as that sounds, maybe, you know, in this case, we want to ease off that a little bit and maybe just make it go really slow. And there's so many cool options that you can do from here, which is why I love this technique. Like for example, if we took just the movement portion, the oscillator A portion of where our movement is coming from in this patch, and we just raise it up a couple of octaves. Listen to this. You didn't even have to really do much. You just raise the octave and all of a sudden you've got this interesting movement. You just, you know, lower the volume. And one other thing I want to mention too is that you can actually download wavetables and use them in your music to use the stuff that other people have recorded, either stuff that they've sampled from their analog synths or like really weird, crazy sounds. Like if I search up FFT, yeah, FFT squeal, you can hear these. This is actually what Serum is using as the basis for the wavetable, but listen to this sound. You know, just weird, crazy sounds that you can use in your music. So I encourage you guys to get creative with that and download some wavetables of your own, or just do what I do and get creative with your environment. Now, of course, this is sound design, so it's not like this technique is going to be useful for more than just basses, but it works especially well for bass sounds, I found in my experience. So I encourage you guys to try out this on all kinds of different stuff and really get creative with it, because I feel like wavetable synthesis in general is a little bit underrated and not talked about nearly as often as it should, because it's crazy how fast you can get unique sounds, which is what I love. So I'd like to hear what you guys think about wavetables and how you use them in your own workflow and in your own music. Let us know down in the comments below. And until next time, take care. Peace.